Hi, we're going to be doing the Rudd assembly today. Hey, for in-house assembly, this is the roll-up door prop. We're going to be showing you how to put it together from start to finish, including any additional pieces and probably some problem solving in case you run into any issues. Once you get the product in the shop, you're going to work on the head of the Rudd system. First thing you'll do is you'll get a hold of these bronze inserts, which require a little bit of machine work over on the other side of the shop, but not really necessarily important for this particular job. What you're gonna do is you're gonna grab a little custom piece that we put together to assemble the head of the Rudd without too many issues. It's really just piece of steel welded to a properly sized piece of tubing and a bolt. This goes on here, goes through, washers, nuts, goes on. Make sure this is movable. Kind of sink it in, finger tight it so that it's not going to go anywhere immediately. Okay. This is a 3/4 inch bolt. Yeah. It's a 3/4 inch bolt. Holds a 1.5 inch bronze bushing. And the bolt we are using is a 5-inch bolt for this start. So use a 3/4 inch wrench and a 3/4 inch head on a impact gun. It uses mechanical things to suck this down. And so you sink it down up until the nut here, which is the end of the thread for the bolt. And you want to stop it just before it gets to the end, preferably, that way you don't strip the threads. If you do strip the threads, you'll have to go get a cutting wheel and cut it off because it'll be immovable. So once you get to this point, you'll pop it off and you'll transition to 4-inch bolt, which will go on there, toss that off. And it is the same exact process, except this time it's a shorter bolt, and you're just going to tighten it down all the way until the bronze bushing becomes flush with the metal. It always gets confused between some of us which side these beams are, but you can always know which side the inside is because the shorter end of the head unit is located on the inside line. And that helps with lining up your main spool drive, which is this piece here. This is the hole that we'll be attaching to the sleeve, and it needs to be towards the inside of where the prop will eventually be. Yes, so this side will get 1 spool and 1 spacer tube. It's important that you put the spool in the right way because it only lines up properly one way. So I just added on the spacer for the Rudd head system. It's a spacer in place of a spool, this being a regular spool here. So this spacer right here, we had to add onto it due to this side not getting a second spool. And we had to do some mechanical adjustment to it, to the inside of it being a little tight due to the powder coating that it had received. But moving forward, the next step that we would do is we would double check the holes between the spool and the drive line, or the spool axle, to make sure it will work properly. So get your drill, get a 3/8 inch drill bit. All you're gonna do is run it one time from both sides. And if it goes through nice like that, shouldn't have any problem grabbing your 2-inch cotter pin. I want it to, there we go. Push it on through there, take there. Just gonna grab a bolt, There we go. Once it's out like that, grab yourself one of the pins. And pull it over so you can get that line up better. There. And there we go. And there we go. Now have an assembled head unit. So we just repeat the same process we did on the previous head, but instead of adding a spacer, it's two separate spools this time around. And one for the main line that's going to be running up and down the beam, and the second for the winch, which will be attached to this exterior side here. There. After you finish this, you'll move right over here to the lower section of the beam, which before you attach it to the base plates, you'll want to double check that it's going to fit properly with the beam itself. To check that, you'll need to get a hold of these little plastic inserts right here. Which includes two plastic bits and one axle. Well, they end up going right here into this knuckle, being slotted in right there. With that piece in there, you can take the lower section and slide it into place, putting a bolt through the joint piece and locking it in place, and then bringing it down to a parallel with the main beam and double checking the holes line up properly. If the holes do not line up properly, you're going to want to ream those or drill them out if they're close enough. If they're not aligned properly, probably send it back to the manufacturing side. So double check this, make sure these are in, make sure they line up. So get yourself your half-inch bolts, just run it through these, make sure they go through nicely, come out the other end, pop back out, same deal here, goes through nicely, so you should be fine there. Yeah, all good. Once you've double checked that, you'll peel this guy out of here. You just, like that, hammer away, and should be able to peel this thing out of here, just like that. This is your Rudd base plate, and this is the Rudd lower half. Before we ship it off, it has to be attached to one another. So what you end up doing is you slide your lower half into the forks that have been set up for you. You're going to take 4-inch, half-inch by 4-inch bolts, washers on both sides, should go right on through. Just like that. You'll take the two other washers and nuts and you'll roll them right on. The 1/4-inch wrench and a 1/4-inch impact gun, and safely secure it. With the Rudd system, requires us to cut 3 separate lengths of cable, using our 1/4-inch cable here. Those being 2 12-foot lengths and 1 16-foot length. We've already cut the 2 12-foot lengths, and now we're going to show you how to cut the 16-foot. You cut it all the same way. Okay. What you end up doing is you'll mark the spot where you're going to be cutting, and then wrap that spot with tape. The reason you wrap it with tape is to prevent the wire from fraying as you cut it. And you want to cut it slowly so that you cut each piece individually and avoid fraying from excessive force. And it should pop out with an edge. It's very clean. Once you've cut a length, choose the nicest looking side out of the ones that you have procured. You're going to grab a tin-plated copper oval sleeve, which is one of these little guys. Slide your wire through one end, and back through it. Grab one of the little crimp knobs here. I'm certain there's a better name for it. A more official name, at least. Gonna slide that down so you can just see about that much sticking out of it. It's roughly an 1/8 inch, or a little more than 1/8 inch. Grab your crimper, your hydraulic wire crimping tool, and you're just gonna crimp this, putting enough pressure on it to where it crushes the steel into place. Roughly about 15 pumps once it's in place. And you can see that it's compressed the steel into like an octagon or hexagon shape. And then you're going to pull your crimped edge all the way till it's flush with your double-sided band. You just pull it tight. And there you have your loop end. On the other end, you're just going to do one single crimp. Now, if it doesn't go in as nicely as you want it to, for the most part, it's not going to cause any problems. But as you can see, like this one, it's frayed a couple. Well, after it was cut, which is fine. You're going to do the exact same process as before. Bring it up to its little nub there. You're going to crimp it just as last time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15. Just like that. It's now crimped. Once you get to this point, you can take your either the cutting wheel of the grinder or a little pair of clippers, and you just clip off these little excess bits. All you'd end up doing is just tagging out the bits so there are no more bits. Just like that, and now you're pretty much clean and ready to go. Okay, so before we can attach the wiring system into the rods, we need to have the truck assembled so that that can be done. And the truck is this item right here. It's assembled with 2 large steel sections of the truck main frame, as well as 3 5.5 inch bolts, 4 1 1/4 inch bolts, their associated washers and lock nuts, 1 5 inch cotter pin, and a loop spool right here, and 1 quick link. I'll show you how to assemble this right now. So, inside the truck system, you have little bronze wheels and stainless steel roller bits. Those just slide right on like that, and they get knocked into place. They just need to be held in place because once they're inset, you can take your impact gun and the associated bolts and you can just tighten them down. So primarily, you're just getting that first part in. Once they're in initially, you can take the stuff from your partner who is holding them for you and slot those in like that. Take your gun. Should pull right up into the system. Just like that. So now they're both set up. You'll take your 1/2 inch by 120 wall tubing. We're going to take that, put them each inside of your primary large bronze wheels or spools. They should stick out about a 1/4 inch over the top of either of them. You can take 2 of your 5.5 inch bolts, pop them on through the middle. Sometimes things get stuck on the powder coats. You just gotta give it a little bit of love to push it on through. Right. On into place. So, if these aren't cleaned out by your production team, as they should be, you can take a 5.5 inch bolt, one of these guys, and you can just knock it through both ways. And it's a handy way to clean out any interior problems you might find. And that'll prevent you from loading it properly. Just a nice little trick, once and once. It should slot right on down into place. From there, take your other side, 2 washers, 2 lock nuts. Don't tighten it down just yet, as you want to slide it onto the ruds later, and you want to have it loose so it can slide on and attach properly. Okay, once from here, kind of got the primary shape already assembled. You're going to take this guy right here. So, slide this right on into there. Should fall and set just like that. Another one of these guys, another lock nut on a washer. Reverse side, 1 cotter pin, and facing the opposite way of the one that you already have. So this way. Just like that. One of those goes in, and it's locked in place. So that's how you assemble a truck for a Rudd. Last thing on here is a quick link that you will use to attach the wire to the truck. Before you start putting up the spool, you have your truck that you've assembled and done your final tighten on, and you'll want to make sure when you tighten it down that you still have enough available maneuverability to roll up and down this. It's mostly because it's going to be rolling the whole time of its life and it needs to be able to roll. To tie this thing in place, you're going to take 1 big zip tie and you're going to run it through the inside past the rear copper spool here, and you're going to end up tying it to a second zip tie, because it is just too short to do it on its own. Until we get longer zip ties. Note that down for later. So you end up tying them together, and you're going to tighten them down so that this piece is securely held in place and will not move. Okay, so this is the truck side spool, which controls the elevation of your truck piece here. And this is the winch side spool, which controls the winch that controls the whole system. Attach your loop end to your quick link down on the truck. Make sure the quick link is open all the way so it can accept your loop. Once you're here, the wire that attaches to the truck always goes under the spool when you set it up. So that way when you attach, so this, for reasonings, this is the winch side of the assembly, so the winch side will go over, whereas the truck side will go under. That way when it rolls, it allows the winch to control it properly. So this comes up, you grab your little nubbed end here, goes through there's a slot inside of the spools, which you can see right there. It looks like a little nipple. Oh. You get your handy dandy hands, Nick, to pull that and keep it tight so that as you spool this up, it doesn't lose tension and you're able to put a proper roll on it. And you want to make sure that as you spool it up, you slot it back towards the origin end so that it maintains a nice consistent roll. And you just go, 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 go. So this is the 12-foot wire, and you're gonna put roughly 3 feet of wire onto here. Once you're here, you're gonna grab your zip tie, you're gonna run it through there, up and around, and you're gonna put it so that it catches the inside behind the axle, because it creates a tension point that will prevent, pull this tight, prevent it from moving. And now you have it assembled to the point where you'll be able to ship it.